Yeah,
beautiful.
And then we'll get going.
What's this?
Got it.
No, I'm just recording. I started recording, so you're good.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the David Uosikkinen in the Pocket podcast. This is podcast number 104 on this beautiful Wednesday. Yeah, man, 104, which is unbelievable.
Nice.
I think I got my numbers wrong, but hey, who's counting? I don't. People play with me. No, I don't. Anyway, beautiful day, and I'm thrilled to have, of course, Freddie B with me on my Wednesdays, and I have a ridiculously great drummer, a friend, exceptional player, doing some wonderful things, and he's joining us this week. I want to welcome Ritchie DeCarlo. How you doing, Rich?
Yeah. All right, man.
Oh, man.
Thanks for the kind words there, Dave.
I listen, man. You know, there's a lot of negatives about social media. You know, we can you know, like it's the curse. It's just
what a way to start.
But one of the great things is that it can introduce you and hip you to some people that you've heard about, what they do musically, what they're into. And Ritchie, I've learned so much about you from the internet, from Facebook and social media, Instagram, your musical passions, your passion for trains, your passion for life, your incredible knowledge of the world. I mean, sometimes when I hear I love this thing you do in the car where you do the rant, you know, what people have talked about. Like I've tuned into that a few times, and you're pissed off about something or you want to address something and you go for it. I mean, look, if we didn't have the social media thing, we'd never be seeing that. So listen, it has made me a fan of yours, and it's also given me some knowledge and background into what you do, you know? So cheers to you, and that's kind of cool, man. Cool. That's cool stuff, man.
Yeah.
You're a busy man.
I would have never known that you were a teacher without social media. I didn't know that's something, so that's something common,
Yeah, oh, definitely. And Freddie too. Freddie's a teacher.
Yeah.
Freddie and I, like you, we're always talking about books, and we're talking about, I mean, a lot of things. Over the last few years, we talk more about hearing aids, but like
that's truth, man.
Yeah, really. I mean, it's one of those unfortunate byproducts of what we do.
Absolutely.
But the reality is.
Did you say books?
Yeah.
Nice.
I have that. Ritchie,
cheap plug.
No, that's not a cheap plug. That's a great plug. You can plug whatever you want here. That's really good. I got that book upstairs. I love that book.
I got to get you a copy, Fred.
Simplicity, and it's really good, and it helps a student learn how to read. And I was kidding about counting because I believe in counting.
Real quick, while we're on the book, and Fred might appreciate this too. I've been teaching since the 80s, so forever. But for the first 10 or 15 years, I'd have these kids in high school marching bands. They play snare drum, really just snare. They wanted to get snare drum. And there's all these great beginner books for snare drum. And then there's all these great college level books for snare drums, but there's no
intermediate
level. So my book is like the next book.
Oh, perfect. That's great.
Once they get done, once they know how to read, once they know what to do, that's why I wrote it.
Like Haskell Har, and then
and
then it goes right to like portraits in rhythm or something that
portraits in rhythm, right? That guy's insane.
It is insane.
It is.
Yeah, trying to do. And listen, you have to know how to do a drag, a Radamacue. You have to know how to do that. Like, I'm sure all you guys are grateful for your early teachers, because I've had I could still name my guys, Bill Weichel, Buddy Ostapovich. And then there was one that they were all great. But I studied with Joe Casadas, and I don't know if you know Joe in New York, but he wrote that book on cross sticking and around the.
I got it. I love that book.
He changed because I'll tell you, not that I would shy away from doing a double stroke roll when I was 17 or 18, but it wasn't something I could do like and breathe. You know what I mean?
Right.
When I say breathe. And when I went to study with Joe, I actually, it happened accidentally, Richie. I was walking in on 46th Street in New York. I went into the Modern Drum Shop. He happened to be behind the counter, and I recognized him from the Slingerland Cadillac. And I said to him, I said, dude, aren't you the guy that was standing next to Brett Deems and Gene Krupa? And he goes, yeah, that's me, kid. And he goes, and I said, do you give lessons? He goes, yeah, I give lessons. He goes, $25. Be here next week, 11 o'clock. I said, I live in Levittown. And he said, no, be here, $25. So I can't, of course, I went there, but boy, it changed and I was 20 years old or 19 years old when I went to him, but he changed my world because I never knew how to do the non-bounce thing, which changed my whole approach to drumming. I didn't know how to do that. And Joe, you know, you had to do that. You had to do both ways. You had to do match grip and you had to do traditional grip.
Wow.
You had to play it with him. And he was like, you just have to do these books with me. It was the Buddy Rich book. And then we had to do the Belson books, the 4/4 and the Nod Time one. But man,
I don't push traditional grip anymore.
Yeah. But this guy
comfortable.
He was 90 years old. Back in the day, it was like those were things that like Alan Childs, there were a bunch of guys that took lessons from him. He was a stickler about that. You could play match grip, but he wanted you to learn the other thing. So he was, because I was playing like that anyway, but I didn't really have a clue on what I was doing. I just threw the sticks in my hands and I didn't understand a fulcrum or any of that.
Right. I studied with Jim Chapin, who.
I saw that.
It sounds like the same approach. And Jim in the 80s was actually anti-traditional grip because he had been having problems that he thought result of the traditional grip.
Wow.
So by, I guess this was 86 or 87, he was like, no, I tell people not to play traditional grip anymore because I think if you do it for too long, there's problems. You know, I don't. But it looks like DeJohnette is no longer playing traditional. So I wonder if that's an issue with him. Playing traditional forever. But the later videos I'm seeing recently, he's back. So I'm wondering if it's a physical thing. I'm wondering if there's some sort of.
Right.
I don't know.
Could be. You know, I mean, that's an interesting way. I mean, because I run into a lot of drummers over the years. I've been always fortunate. I never had. I like my hearing got fucked, and my hip. I had to get a new hip almost 10 years ago now. Actually, it's been 10 years. But I never had any hands. Or lately, I've been having issues with my feet, but you know that's just called 66, you know. But it's interesting though that you studied with Chapin. I met him. I'd always see him at NAMM, but I met him.
He's like the creator of the jazz. I mean, like I shouldn't say creator. There were guys
that book.
He's the guy that put it on paper. He's the guy that put it on paper. The guy that made it make sense. That like
sure.
Yeah. I mean, even today, like I'll see like an old Elvin Jones clip, video, whatever, and I'll just be like, I have no idea
what he's doing.
I just did, and I don't even know how to go about figuring it out. But if you go to the Chapin book,
you can
say, he just did these 3 lines, super fast.
I have a question. I have a question, Rich. Do you have the open end?
I do, yes.
Holy
turn things upside down. Upside down. Do you know about this, Dave? Do you know about? Okay, it's a giant binder, loose leaf binder. It looks like something I have in college. It's all these pages like
overlays
with openings. Like if you hold one up, it's got these holes in it. Right. And then put one on top of the other, it creates a pattern. Turn it upside down. And then you're playing the pattern reversed. Your hands doing what your foot did. And right. And Jim says, I don't know if this has been proven or not, or anybody challenged it. Jim says it's impossible to complete the book. Because once you finish it, you turn something else upside down or sideways or whatever. And a whole new thing going on. I don't think you could buy that anymore, unfortunately.
I've found it like being sold out of the UK for like a couple $100.
That's worth it. It's worth it. You know,
I thought about it. Yeah. Because that's what I do with the other book. I'll reverse the figures. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow. I got it from I got that book from Don Famolero.
Oh yeah.
Maybe he still has them. I don't know. I haven't been in touch with him in a long time.
Yeah.
Monster player. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yep.
I met him years ago. I met him. He was good friends with Liberty DeVito. So we went to, I don't even know if Jonathan Mover is still playing, but Jonathan.
Yeah, actually, it's funny. He's coming around with a band called Prague Jack.
Oh, cool.
It's it's Mike Keneally, who was Frank Zappa.
Oh yeah, from Zappa.
Mover.
Yeah, it's five guys like that. They're doing. I think they're doing like Close to the Edge, and they're doing all this stuff. I think it's coming to the Sellersville Theater. I think.
Oh, that sounds good. If I'm around, that's something I would like to see. I met those because Mover was playing one night. We all went, and I was with Dom and Lib, and there was some other guy there. I forget who that was. One's Lib's friends, but I remember Jonathan was doing that, and he was
with Satriani for a long time.
Yeah, I think early on those first few records, that was Jonathan.
I think he was there even longer than that.
He's got that magazine, right? Mover.
Yeah. Drumhead. Oh,
okay. Yeah. I didn't realize that was him.
That's him. That's Jonathan.
And he's out on the West Coast now.
Yeah. So listen, I mean, great. And also I noticed that you took lessons with Schmitty Schmidt, which is cool. I think there was someone else that
the Smitty Smith thing was funny because they had these Buddy Rich memorial concerts for a little while.
Yeah.
And I tried to get to all of them, and I'd never heard of him. He didn't have the Sting gig yet, or I don't know if he did anything yet. And there, I mean, Caliuta was there, Weckl, Calhoun, all these heavy hitters. But I walked out that night going, who the hell is Smitty Smith? Like I didn't even think about the other. I mean, I'm talking about,
Yeah, I know.
Heavy hitters. Louis Belson was there. And I'm driving home from New York going,
wow.
Smitty Smith guy.
Yeah, right.
And it wasn't easy back then. There's no internet, no whatever.
Right.
After phone call.
Yeah.
So I ended up calling the editor of Modern Drummer magazine. I don't remember his name at the time. I got him on the phone. I was like, you need to put me in touch with Smitty Smith. He's over at Drummers Collective.
Right.
He's there like every week. So I called him up to get, and whoever I talked to, you got to give him, it was a lot of money actually back then. You had to give him $50, like just show up, and then the lesson was $50.
Whoa!
In other words, you had to be a member of the collective for $50.
Gotcha.
That's right. So I paid them the $50 over the phone, and then I got there. The lesson was $50, I think, a half hour. Like it was money at the time, I remember. But so I said to Smitty, who I think he had just gotten the Sting gig, like he wasn't going to be around much longer, and he was like, "Look, I'm not going to be here much longer." I said, "Look, this works out great. I'm 2 hours away." I said, "Can you just load me up with shit to work on at home? Pay more or whatever you want to do." So I only took 2 lessons with him, but it was a year's worth.
Wow.
So it ended up being a bargain.
What was his thing?
His whole thing was patterns that don't come naturally. Work on don't come naturally. In other words, if you can play a paradiddle all day, don't do that.
Right.
Or come up with another 6-stroke pattern or whatever, and get that to be in your sort of
wheelhouse. Right.
And then once it's there, play it as fast as you can.
Wow.
And you'd end up with all these new phrasings.
Right. Yeah.
Like not only were you working on your chops and building things, but you get into a band rehearsal and you go do a fill and you go, wow, I would have never did that 6 months ago. Like that sort of thing. And I'm not talking about, wowing your friends.
No, I got you.
Musical.
Ended with 2 right hands. Started with 2 left hands. That's your whole phrasing.
Right.
Coming out of it. So all of a sudden you're doing all these things that, you get risky. Or 7-stroke.
I love his playing. I remember when he was doing,
he's amazing.
And what I always loved about his playing, I loved his tone. I love the way you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's, you guys all know it's how you drum sound, how you play them, how you hit them.
But he sounded like that. Fluent. But he sounded like that in a Drummers Collective practice room on an old set. Shitty heads.
True.
And he's a traditional guy. He's a traditional guy.
Yeah,
That's
well,
his
I mean, that's like that old story of Beccaro doing the clinic at. He came to play for a group of students at the Institute in L.A. and they said, hey, we're going to set up this really nice kit for you, and he said, no, I want to play the export kit. Put the export kit. He sounded like Jeff. You know, I mean, you know how it is. We all have a thing. I'm pretty much like, you know, I nowadays I think it's a little more difficult because of all the sampling and everything like that. But before, when guys are playing drums and there's no implementation of a sample or anything like that, I pretty good. If I know the guy, I could say, I bet that's so and so. You know what I mean? I can almost hear it. You know, nowadays
it's funny. Something came up with. I was talking to an audio engineer about this. If you listen to Steve Gadd on the Asia track,
yeah,
and somehow you could pull yourself out of how great it is and how wonderful it is, those toms don't sound good. You understand what I'm saying? Like if you could really hone in, I'm like, look, man, just listen to the toms.
Yeah, he was using those Blue Evans heads back then. Remember the Blue
and probably
Evans?
with duct tape on them, on top of that. And it's like, so there's this track that not only drummers, but everybody in industry worships.
Yeah.
Pretty much has a shitty tom sound.
Yeah.
Right.
So it really does, you know, when you talk about a great player, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the drums were probably mic'd, and they were probably close mic'd and had great mics. It's the toms. You know,
in a tiny little room.
But Steve had that sound, man. You know,
he still does.
Oh, he does. And he playing hard or playing soft. He still sounds like Steve. Still sounds like him.
And you know why he plays the way he does? I found this out recently. He's a tap dancer.
Mm-hmm.
He was an actual tap dancer.
Yeah. Like Moffat, Jonathan Moffat, same way. Who is
really?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
We're all going to dance school after we leave.
There we go.
You know what? You know what's great though? You know what I love about this is that we're, you know, you're a little bit younger than us, Ritchie, but you know, Fred and I still, and I know you're the same way. We're still always learning, and we still want to get better. And I'm always looking for like, okay, how do I get an edge? Not about an edge on somebody, an edge to keep me rolling, motivated, all that kind of stuff. It's like I find little pieces of gear, and I find these young cats that are always telling me, "Hey, Dave, have you checked this thing out?" It helps you keep, you know. It keeps educating you and motivating and get you
it just happened to me the other day. It just happened to me the other day that I don't know who the drummer is, but there's a local band called Pawn Shop Roses.
Zill.
XPN's been playing them. I don't know these guys at all. They're probably 10 years younger than me or so.
Yeah, they're younger. Zill is a great drummer.
What's his name?
Oh,
Zill.
It's Zill. Zill. Oh, yeah. Z-I-L. Yeah, Zill's a friend of mine. Yeah.
Zill Fretzler.
Yes, he's great.
Zill Fretzler, great drummer.
Well, it's a straight rock song. It's just a straight.
Yeah.
But there's one Phil. He doesn't play the one. It's like it's like that. You know, he comes in on the ad, and I'm like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like you're saying, there's always something.
Yeah.
I did it later. I'm still recording something.
Yeah. Oh, well, I love that. I love that you did that later.
He was touring with Rusted Root for a minute.
For a long time.
And he played, he was the original drummer in K-Floor. Remember that band?
Oh, really?
Blues band. Yeah. So he's been around.
He was like in high school back then.
He was young. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw those guys. Okay, I never met him, but I know who he is. Okay.
So many young dudes. Like I've been giving lessons at the School of Rock in Berwyn, and there's so many young cats that you see right now. And we all came up without. You mentioned having to track down Smitty Smith. We didn't have the internet. Now, if you want to learn on YouTube, you don't need to. I mean, frankly, it's nice to have a teacher because a teacher can show you things that, you know, say, what are you doing?
It's not mandatory anymore.
It's not, but it's not. Matter of fact, you know, a lot of times you can really, I mean, because I've seen guys come to me that already are, you know, have learned so much from the internet. You know, I mean, you could just go one-on-one Tommy Igo's things and you learn the whole system and you go, you know. But to me, I think a teacher does help, but not mandatory, as you said. But I see some of these young dudes that use the internet to just better their craft and learn how to become a player. But there's just freaks of nature. Like when I gave Elon Rubin was a student of mine when he was 10 years old, who play, you know Elon, he plays with Nine Inch Nails, and he used to come to my house in San Diego, and he was such a great kid. He was on my podcast talking about remembering how I had that coffee. I had a old Real Feel with a coffee stain on it, and he still remembered the coffee stain. He goes, "Yeah, Dave, I still remember that coffee stain. I remember your dog running in there and the kid." But he was kind of one of those freaks of nature where
he's amazing. Yeah,
he was. Listen, I tell Freddie this. He was always like that. When he was a kid, he would, we did the buddy book together. We'd sit by set. We'd play the lesson together, and anything that we did, he'd always come back the next week, and he'd improvise on what I showed him. Not the reading thing, but he would always go and play like, he's I don't know if he's a lefty, but he plays left righty. He probably writes left-handed, but since he was a kid, he plays a right-handed. But oh my God, and he plays with such power, and
piano too, right?
He plays he's a monster guitar player.
Yeah, he's playing guitar now. Yeah.
He plays guitar. And he plays drums. He's got his record. He's just brilliant. But my point was that some of these young guys, they come up like Elon was like the internet was just starting to happen when he was a kid. But nowadays the internet, you can learn so much. You can become so fluid.
Yeah, those gospel guys, I learn something. If I want to, I learn something every day.
Right.
Most days I avoid it. I'm like,
yeah.
But
I love it.
Here's what's interesting. Like people my age or between our age or whatever, they'll all say, well, there's nothing happening musically. There's nothing, there's no John Bonham. There's no but and that's true if you're only listening to the radio.
Right.
But if you think about it, now the radio, what is the radio, whatever that is in your world, I'm not talking about just the radio. That is what AM radio was when we were growing.
Yeah.
AM radio. So you didn't hear Yes. You didn't hear Led Zeppelin. You didn't hear anything.
We got Roundabout, I think, on Wibbage at the end. Remember Roundabout? We got that, and I opened my eyes.
Version.
Yeah.
A 3-minute version of something.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I'm saying is, like, if you want to find, MMR was just as accessible as AM radio, growing up. So you could kind of go over there, but even that was still pretty limited. You weren't going to hear Frank Zappa or Alan Holdsworth or any of the stuff I was listening to as a teenager. There was no radio. So you kind of had to go find it. And when I tell people that say that, older people, whatever, there's no, well, yeah, there is. There is a John Bonham. There is a whoever. He's on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you got to find him there.
Yeah.
He's playing the Ardmore Music Hall next.
Yeah.
Go see him there. You're not, he's not going to be on the AM radio of today.
Right.
He never was. You know what I mean? He never was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even like you talk about Emerson, Lake and Palmer, whatever that's Lucky Man.
Yeah.
Is all Emerson, Lake and Palmer was to the average person.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? It wasn't.
No, you got it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
so
today, like I think some of the stuff Billie Eilish doing is amazing. Not the singles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to go a step further. And who's that other one? What's her name? Taz or something. She does all these loops. Taz Sultana.
Yeah. She from down.
She does these. She'll like hit her chest or something, create a rhythm with a loop, and then play a bass and play a guitar, and then like 3 minutes later, it's a song, and she sings, and it's amazing. Wow. You're not going to hear that on, latest Taylor Swift. You got to go find it. So I always tell my students, like this started about 20 years ago. I had a student. She was 14 or 15. And she just started.
Great age.
She just started. I said, who's your favorite band? And she said The Doors.
Wow.
And it really upset me because, not that there's anything wrong with The Doors.
No.
Understood.
No.
It's her.
I got you.
That was her grandfather's music.
Yeah, it's what she's probably been hearing, though,
I know, and I was just like, huh? Like,
how's that possible?
And that was at that point I realized,
Yeah.
Got to start telling these kids there is another Doors out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because she actually went to see the Doors.
Right.
At that time, it was the guy from the Cult.
Yeah.
I was like, go buy some Cult CDs. Go buy. You know the guy. You love him. You think he's go.
Ian, right? Ian
right.
was doing
buy that. Go there. That'll get you into another.
Right.
You know what I mean? A door. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, but I hear you. You know, it's an interesting thing that's going on right now because you know, again, I told you about the School of Rock thing where they're playing shows of bands. I haven't seen them do a Doors show, but they do the Led Zeppelin thing. But I do have, like, I had one student that really hit me to, like, I wasn't familiar with that band, King Gizzard and Lizard. Which they're fantastic. They're out of Australia.
Also Australian. Yeah.
And, like great music scene out of that part of the world.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Like, I remember, like, I've only been over there once. I toured over there and I was like, it was one of those things where like, I can't wait to go back, and I never went back. But I remember it was in the late 80s. So Midnight Oil and In Excess and I forget the guys at the Hunters, the horn players. They toured with the Midnight, but there was such a freaking great music scene going out there.
Yeah.
But you know, they're at School Rock, they're doing a little show right now where they're doing some of these bands, but I learn about some of these bands from these kids. You know, that was that King Lizard. I don't even think I got the name right. King Lizard and the King Gizzard or something.
The Gizzard.
Yeah, it's a wacky name.
I know who you're talking about.
And I should never say anything about wacky names with bands with playing in the Hooters. For fuck's sake, you know. Cindy Lauper calls my band the band with the unfortunate name, you know. So
that's what John Lilly. That's what John Lilly always said.
Yeah, but John Lilly got that from Cindy Lauper. So
okay.
Band with the unfortunate name, you know what I mean.
I was in a band with John.
Well, that's Ritchie. That's how I first heard your name. And then of course, like, you know, and then when I saw, you know, I guess with the friending people they do on social media, and then I started to become aware, you know, I said, I know this guy, because John said, he's a great drummer. So of course I you know, that's how that went, you know. But
I actually did a session with do you guys remember Skip Drinkwater?
Sure.
Producer.
Sure.
Yeah, we all laugh. Yeah, it's like, but he somehow did it. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
He called out of nowhere in the mid '90s. He's like, I need your session tomorrow. And I was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah. It ended up being, it was a really weird thing that was cool. I don't know if it ever was released, but there was this guy named Tarkan who was this like Michael Jackson guy in Turkey.
Turkey. I know of Tarkan through Mutlu. We used to some of his songs.
You should get it. You could probably get the recording for Ritchie if he doesn't have it.
Oh my God!
I don't know if it was ever released. So I end up going to the session. I don't know what it is or anything. The typical Skip just show up at 10 in the morning thing.
Yeah.
And I get there and Rob and Eric are there.
Oh, cool.
And I'm like, what's going on? I said they knew. They were like, we're doing this song, and they explained to me Tarkan thing. It was this really cool song. So I ended up doing a track with them. It was
right on. They're great. Yeah. It was good. It was cool, right? Top-notch players, man. You know,
not only the playing, but they were very much like an assembly line. You know what I mean? Like they're very well. You know.
We've all done. Well, Fred's done sessions with them too. Yeah, I mean, and Rob. I mean, look, Eric, he's fantastic, but Rob to me still is a little bit of a freak of nature with that left hand, because he still like plays the most amazing bass with his left hand.
Cool.
I mean, really, he's just a ridiculous player, and you know. But I'm sorry, interrupted with the assembly line thing.
No. I'm just saying, they were like very efficient, I guess is the word. Because sessions,
that they are.
Sessions like that, where you're working on a song and trying to make it a little different. I mean, it really goes into some weird territory sometimes for hours. And you're just, But they weren't like that. They were very much like, let's try this. That didn't work. Let's try that. Let me go get this other instrument. You know, Eric was playing some recorder or something. And I'm like, oh, wow. Thought of that, you know.
Was this at KGEM by any chance? Where was it at?
I think it was at Sonic.
Okay. I once sat in on a Skip session it was a Judy Mowatt record that he was working on. And Sly and Robbie were the rhythm section.
Ooh.
But they had already cut, they had already cut their track somewhere else. But let me tell you, just being in the control room, listening to that coming out of the speakers, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, they're like McCartney and Ringo.
Yeah.
You're
You know what I mean? Like it's like it's you hear that and you're just like, even when he's playing like Simmons drums.
Yeah.
Yep.
When Simmons drums, I had them back then. They were totally frowned upon. You could play those. I'm like, you fucking hear them guys, and like he's playing a Simmons kit. You know? Cymbals, you know.
It's a feel, that touch, man. That's it.
It's interesting that you bring that up, Ritchie, because I mean, we could probably do 3 podcasts with Ritchie, probably more, because the gear. We could do one on just gear. It's funny. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if you could see that. Can you see that kit? Can you see the drum set?
Yeah.
That's one of those.
The Roland set.
I got one of those Roland VADs. Which it's a little bit like I've been busy with some other things, so I haven't. I got it set up so I can play. And I can play them, but the brain has 700 sounds. Plus, you can MIDI in, and you can do all kinds. You could get.
But the Roland presets. The Roland presets are fine.
Yeah, right. But the interesting thing is about this is it has the snake. And then it has all these other outlets on the brain, and they send all the, like, it's almost like I gotta find a Roland aficionado, because there's so much more to this that I think I'm like a quarter, even at best, into figuring it out. I mean, right now it just sounds, one thing I do appreciate about it is that it sounds like a drum set. And it
do you have the TD50 or the TD27?
This is the 27.
Oh, okay.
TD27.
And with the presets. You're good with the presets.
The presets are cool. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, just stay with the presets and play for a while before you try to go.
Yeah.
What I usually do with a brand new thing like where you're at with this is I'll go through the presets to be jazz, rock, all the normal stuff. And then there'll be some weird one that I
found them.
And then when you sort of pick that one apart, go in there and see what that one's doing, then that's how you learn how to do stuff. That's how I do anyway.
Yeah.
Opposed to being like, what's everything this could do?
Right. Oh, because it's a myriad. So it's like it's amazing. I mean, I'm really impressed with the what they did with the actual drums themselves. Really,
right.
And Pro Tools, I haven't downloaded. You can use it with Pro Tools. There's a template. And I haven't downloaded that yet.
What's cool is with all of us recording at home, now that you have this kit, you could just send the producer or engineer a MIDI file with no sounds and load it into their Pro Tools, and then they could use any
whatever.
I don't know about you guys, but there's a lot of times a guy will send me a song and I think it sounds like John Cougar, so I'll go for that Kenny Aronoff tight snare, and then when he gets it, he goes, "Oh man, I was thinking more of like a Rolling Stones, like the Eagles or some completely different drum sound."
Yes.
But I already finished it. And I'm like,
but you can't. That's the one thing great about MIDI that you could do.
That's what I'm saying. This guy could just fly whatever snare he has in there.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I mean, eventually I have a little room over here where I have an acoustic kit and I got my mics. But I've been bringing my mics to sessions. I had a session, I brought my Coles and stuff like that, which is a pain in the ass, but I don't always trust. Like if a certain guy, well, I shouldn't say that, but I trust the engineer. But sometimes if I walk in and I see them using mics, I'm going, why don't you put these guys up? Because I know what they're going to do. I know what they're going to do. It's going to sound better, So, but hey, so listen, we're yakking away. I do want to get to, I want to talk one about your show that's coming up that you're doing on May 7th. And
stay right there, because that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Okay. The Rotunda.
Yes.
And it's May 7th. And now I do this. I was doing this once a year before we shut down. So I haven't done it in about 3 years, but it's a one-man thing. It's just me.
That's awesome.
I have the Hansonic Roland thing. I have a chord wave drum. These are all electronic percussion things, drum things for people listening that don't know what it is. And what I do is I'll start to create, and I have loop pedals like a guitar player uses, a regular, nothing fancy, a stereo loop pedal. So I'll just get a rhythm going or a drone going, and I'll just get it going with the loop, and then I build on that and build on that and build on that, and then that'll go into some new slower thing or that. So it ends up being, it should be about an hour. So it's a one man. It's just me.
Oh, that's so cool.
8 to 9. So it's not like me playing drums with anybody else or even.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't even. There probably won't be a drum set. Although, do you guys know about Sunhouse? Sunhouse. It's like a trigger type of. It's a trigger that works with optical, like red light, like the red beam lights that you play with a cat. That point, the pointer. You know what I'm talking about? It's like the beam.
No, I know about the pointer thing. I know about.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, picture that light mounted to your tom, and it's going across the tom, the light, and it knows exactly where you're playing on the drum.
Sure.
The distance of the light. So there's 25. You can have up to 25 zones with 25 different samples.
Whoa.
Drum, and they're all multi-layer by pressure. So among the 25 or 25 or 26, I don't remember now. I've never used that many because I don't play that. Right. But but I'll have like 50 different samples on 4 drums.
Wow.
A snare, a timbali, F sharp minor 7 on a Hammond. Wah, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. So I might bring that out. I never brought that out because to be honest with you, it works on a laptop, and I still don't trust a laptop in a live.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know I'm an old man, but
I
hear
need a backup for the backup.
Yeah. And then you don't even know about the software. It's like, but I think it's fascinating that you do this. So when you let me ask you about setting this up. When you do this one-man show, tell me about the production. How do you go about? It's a lot of gear. So the last one I did was virtual. Yeah.
He has this thing called Nick's Garage. He does it's a worldwide podcast streaming thing. I did that on my YouTube. Just search me on YouTube. It's one of the recent ones, and you'll see that was 7 different synthesizers and 2 different hand drums. And that one, nothing interacted with each other. In other words, if I played the hand sonic, that's all you heard was the hand. Sometimes I MIDI it to something else, whatever. I didn't want to get into that last time. So what I'll do is I'll get a sequence going on one of the keyboards.
Yeah.
I'll get that going. And then I'll hit another one that's not rhythmic, like it's a drone or something. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to sync.
Right.
And I'll play on top of that, not soloing, but playing along with the sequence to get some sort of rhythm going. And then once I loop that, I take everything out, and you'll have maybe just like a taiko drum, like a Japanese taiko drum pattern at that point. Then the loop's going, and I could loop on top of that. I'll play angle, I'll play finger cymbals, I'll play, that's the wonderful thing about these things.
I love it.
It's like, actually, I listened to the Van Romain podcast.
Brilliant player.
Yeah, well, I didn't realize he was that steeped in Ableton Live and stuff. I just thought.
And the drum cat, he was the guy that's been.
I
know you got the drum cat. I had one back in. I was triggering. I remember I started messing around with that back in '93. I had a drum cat. I had one, and I remember I was trying to trigger drums, but there was still latency issues back then.
He has a new one. It's called alternate mode now. And it's USB. It's USB.
Yeah. Oh no!
Wow. So you trigger whatever you want. But and it's funny. I mean, I never met Van Romain, but I know who he is and everything. And all these people came up. Tommy Alderson, you guys are talking about Tommy Alderson. I worked with him in a music store in 1990.
Oh, I love Tommy.
He was the drum guy, and he was the guitar guy. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
I did a session for Tommy I don't know who the artist was, but he was producing it. And I love that guy because he used to play with the Mibs. I don't know if you remember the Mibs.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
With Woody and
Delaware.
And then I'm in Europe and we're playing with Deep Purple and Steve Morris his tech comes walking out. And he goes, "Hey, it's me, Tommy." And it was Tommy, man. It was, oh my God.
He's been with Steve a long time.
Oh, he's
so anyway, the show's May 7th at the Rotunda. It's free.
Yeah.
The only problem or the only concern I have is I only play 8 to 9 o'clock. So if you're late,
oh yeah,
it's the whole thing, you know.
You missed it.
Yeah, you missed it. So everybody, if you freaking go, and you should go support. One, not only will you see a great artist at work doing something that he's very passionate about, you should go and support it because I said so. go see him
and be on time.
And be on time. But it'll be a treat.
I think these concerts are funded by University of Penn because we do get paid. On. So yeah, it's cool. It's very cool.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Nice.
So listen, I want to chat a little bit about. So is this 11,780? Is this how we call this record?
It's called 11,780 steps.
Steps,
which is a pretty deep joke at this point. Yeah. And while I was doing the album, first of all, I try to release an album every year, and I do Kickstarter. I get a little bit of money out of Kickstarter to make the album, so it doesn't really cost me anything.
Right.
To make the album because I'm able to record myself, but I got to pay some special guests.
Sure.
There's always an expense. So Kickstarter has done this once a year, and when I went into this at the beginning of 2020, before anything happened, I went into this and I thought, these albums are always about me. Like even when I do an album with Michael Bernier or Percy Jones or Scott McGill, that's about us, but it's still me. It's still me. So I thought, let me try to do an album all outside written. So I didn't write anything on this album. It's all outside written. Like you're going to play in a minute.
Yeah.
Tony Reyes wrote that song. I know.
Oh yeah.
Tony Reyes. I love Tony.
Love Tony.
Yeah.
Super talent.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. One of the. I mean, I met Tony a long time ago, but when we crossed paths again, he was playing with Sass Jordan.
Right.
And I was playing with Iota. I don't know if you remember.
Oh yeah, sure.
But we did a gig together, and here comes Tony Reyes. I hadn't seen him in years. This is probably 1995 or 96 or something. And I'm like, hey man, Tony, how you been? He goes, hey man, I want you to introduce my drummer, Taylor Hawkins.
Yeah.
Yep. So it was like, it's crazy how. Together,
Sad, I met Taylor through the same circumstances. It was Sass playing out on the green in Switzerland, and he was 17 then. 17
nice
years
guy,
old. Oh my God, it's terrible.
So
man.
sad.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And Tony was playing with him. Tony's, I think he's still living in Jersey right now.
Yeah, he lives near here.
Terrific
Yeah. So listen. He wrote Resolution Day, and let me go back to the title real fast. It's called 11,780 Steps, and I didn't have any name for the album. It was coming together to get together, and Trump came on TV, remember, during the election, and he said he needed 11,700. And I thought to myself, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard from anyone.
Yeah, talking about fucking up
there's no way anything at that level is that close.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, there's no way you're going to come up with 11,000 votes and like win an election or win a grant. We're that close.
Brilliant.
It is brilliant.
So I was just going to call it 11,780, and my girlfriend and I, who don't read much, we just go do things like idiots. We're doing this 2-mile hike up in upstate Pennsylvania that was only going to be 2 blocks, 2 city blocks, but it was 2 miles long, and it was uphill, and there were all these steps. You know?
Oh, shit.
So I'm walking up all these steps and it was beautiful. Actually, I'm sorry, it was in New York. It was in New York. It was up in New York. I'm sorry, not Pennsylvania. So there's all these waterfalls and all stuff. It's beautiful. So remind of how much pain you're in. I'm not in the greatest shape. So I'm walking up. And she goes, how many steps do you think there were? I said, I think it was 11,780. So that became the name of the album.
There you go.
That's brilliant. It's brilliant. I never would have even put those two together, but now
nobody even remembers that.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But, I just thought it was the funniest thing ever. Like,
that's awesome. It's brilliant. You know, well, listen, you know what? I before we run out of time, I definitely want to play some stuff from your record. So our producer Jim has Resolution Day. You have that queued up? I'm gonna crank that up. Here we go, man.
There we go.
Got air drums out of me.
Yeah, Ritchie.
Killer.
Kill it now.
Oh man, I think it's terrific.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really nice.
Tony.
Who's singing?
Tony
Reyes.
Oh my God, that's Tony singing.
Who didn't want to sing it? Who didn't want to sing it because he doesn't?
Oh my God!
Come on,
it's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy.
Wow.
Silly.
Hold on, there's a couple things. One, that song was written right after I ran into Tony again with the Sass Jordan thing. That was over. Out of nowhere, he called me 6 months later, whatever. He had these demos with him playing everything. I mean, you could have released this. I mean, it was. Right. I mean, it was amazing. He's playing drums, playing everything. Nothing fixed. Nothing. You know, it was before Pro Tools, all that. It's like a 4-track set or something.
Yeah.
What do you need me for? I'm like, this is great. He says, no, I want to present this as a band. So him, Chell Benner on bass. And a guy named Brian, I forget his last name, he was singing. And that was one of the songs from back then.
Love it.
So I pulled it out. And then the backup vocals and the lead guitar is this guy, Steve Carlisle. Which I want to talk about that for a second, because do you know the Gustav Holst piece, The Planets, the classical piece?
Sure.
Mars and all that? Well, no people have done Mars and Jupiter and stuff in like a progressive rock type style.
Yep.
No one's done the whole thing in its entirety. We've started doing that, and we're about halfway done. So
that's great.
I wanted to mention that. That's probably still a year away. But,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We're gonna put that.
Oh, I love it.
Nice.
Yeah. And all that classical
kind of great.
All that classical stuff's public domain, so you don't need any permission or you have to pay.
Oh, right.
So we're going to do the entire piece and put it out.
Right on.
You know, we don't have to worry, to do that. And then,
cool.
So that song's like 30 years old. It's been
Wow.
sitting on a CD.
And I love the lyrics. I love his tone of his voice.
Yeah.
It had a Foo Fighters thing, the way he sang the harmonies, what they were doing. It was really nice, man.
Yeah.
Really nice.
And that whole middle Todd Rundgren section. That's new. That wasn't there. It was more like a Stone Temple Pilots song.
Yeah.
Right on.
I mean, there was no Foo Fighters when we did
it. Right. Exactly.
Nirvana was still happening. It's great that I was able to pull that out. And like I said, I didn't write anything on this album.
Yeah.
But everything's outside written, so it's all over the place, which is
why. It doesn't matter. I mean, you're driving the project and doing what you got to do. Listen, after the years of putting projects together and producing things like that, there's so much work and doing detailed stuff people don't realize. Like
I mix that
it's
stuff
a lot
too.
different.
I'm mixing the stuff.
Wow.
And,
Cool.
I'd love to have an engineer, but budget for this stuff. So I've been learning engineering as I went along the last 15 years.
That's a great thing. Yeah,
sounds wonderful.
Yeah. Do you ever use what is that audio movers? Have you checked that out yet? Have you used that?
I use Lander. You guys, Lander.
I've heard of it.
It's very, very inexpensive mastering.
Oh,
yep.
And if it's pop rock stuff, it's great, man. It ends up being a whole album for like $40.
Wow.
And it's iTunes. It's iTunes ready, Spotify ready. Does it sound as good as this or that? I'm not going to go there. It's good enough.
Right.
Yeah.
No budget, and you want to get your stuff out there. Great.
Right.
I've been using that for a while.
Congratulations. Hey, I did. When I was reading your bio, and I always like to mention, if I can, your father got you into taking your lessons.
My grandfather,
when you were 5 years old.
Yeah.
Listen, man.
That's
because
awesome.
my father didn't play. My father loved music. I mean, I grew up with Harry James records and Louis Armstrong records, Gene Krupa, and I was just introduced to really music through my father. Your grandfather. Same thing with Freddie. Our families had a lot to do with.
Well, I had the perfect storm. I had the sort of perfect storm because I had my grandfather who was into all that stuff. Rich, Tommy Dorsey, Harry James, and he was old school. Like everything else after it sucked. It was garbage. So I had that, which was good, which was a good thing. I had that, and then at home, my father, who doesn't play any instruments, he was buying a lot of current stuff. Yes,
I loved it.
Company, weather. He had the first Weather Report record. What I mean?
Wow.
That was, and I'm like 10 years. I'm like 5 or 6 years old. My mother's listening to the Spinners.
Yeah.
Right.
So to me, luckily, at this very early age, this was all just music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was very fortunate that Bad Company wasn't any different than Tommy Dorsey to a 6-year-old.
Yeah,
I want to hear that song again. I want to hear that song again.
Yeah,
it wasn't like I want to hear that R&B song or whatever. No. So I really perfect storm. And my father took me to see so many shows. Like I saw Presley in '73.
Oh man, we're at the Spectrum.
It was at the Spectrum.
Yeah, I remember. I have buddies of mine that went.
It was a Friday matinee.
Yes. Yeah.
Whoa.
Ronnie Tutt.
Ron Tutt. Rest in peace. He just died when he's in.
I know.
Great.
Unbelievable.
Great drummer.
Unbelievable.
Hey, so listen, I knew this would happen. I knew we'd only get one. Thank God I listened. But listen, Richie,
Part one.
You have to. This is another one because Rich. You got a lot going on and a lot of cool, interesting stuff that I am fascinated with. Freddie as well. And I
gotta say one last thing or I'll get in trouble.
What's that?
I'm playing with Jeff Washington in North.
Jeffrey.
Yeah, and Jeffrey's going to be is going to be our next podcast guest.
Oh, cool. April 22nd. So.
Yeah, and he's on in a couple weeks. And I'm trying to get like a lot of guys that I really like to get on the. I mean, I like everybody that's on the podcast.
You got to get Forensic on. You got to get.
John was on already before.
Oh, was he?
John,
I'm on his new album and Van Rompuyl's new album and Prince. The three and John Anthony. There's four drummers.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
And he writes some great stuff.
Yeah, he's a brilliant.
Sure.
He's brilliant. And anyway, listen, I want to thank you so much for taking your time to do this. The link will be available later on today. It's always a pleasure, man. Freddie, I love you, brother.
Love you too.
Yeah,
love
Fred,
both of you guys.
I got to tell you, Fred, I got to say something, man. One of my more memorable, enjoyable gigs of recent years is that one we did together at the Dawson.
That was fun, man, with Cookie.
That was a blast.
That was a blast.
Was that with Rubino? Who was the gig with? Cookie Rabinowitz. I played on one of his things before. He's cool. All right, listen, I want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank the School of Rock for all their support. And listen, man, we'll see you on podcast 105. Everybody, you guys have a great day. Richie, thank you very much. Freddie.
Anytime.
Love you, fellas. Have a great Wednesday, all right?
Peace.
Cheers. Bye-bye, guys.